What is going on, everyone? This video is about how to insert records into an OpenSearch index in the OpenSearch console. I'll be covering how to insert records as well as inserting multiple records through the console. So first we got to log into our OpenSearch console. Now, once we get to the landing page in OpenSearch, there's two ways to get to the console where we can start inserting records. In the top right corner, if we click on Devs Tools, that's going to take us to our console. And the other method is if we're from the home screen, if we hit the three horizontal lines and we scroll down till we see Dev Tools under Management. And if we click that, that's going to bring us to the console as well. So let's talk about how to insert single records, or in OpenSearch is called a document, into our OpenSearch index. On the left-hand side, we're going to start with a post command, so POST, and the index that we want to insert to. And if you're unfamiliar with an OpenSearch index, it's just like a table. So I'm going to be inserting into my cars index. And the next is going to be _doc, which stands for document. So document is like a record in a relational database. Next, we're going to pass the JSON array that we want to insert. So as you can see here on my second line, we have the car make, which is a Nissan, car model, and the car model year. So when we use the post command, it's going to insert a new record. However, with the post command, we can't control the unique ID that is going to be inserted. So let's just give that a run. And if it was successful, on the right-hand side of the console, you're going to see an array message appear. And we can see here that the result was created. And we get an ID, it tells us the index that it's been written to and the type that we've written, which is a document. As I mentioned with the post command, you can see here it generates a unique ID on entry. All right, so let's say now in the console, you wanted to actually write to the index, but actually controlled the unique ID. Let's say you wanted to update this later on and you wanted to know what this ID was. Well, we can control that with the put command. So let's just try this with another record now. So we're going to do put. Now back into our cars index. And next is going to be _doc again. And now this is where we can control the unique ID. So I'm just going to start with 1. Now on the next line, it's going to be the JSON array that we want to write. All right, and now again, we're just going to hit the run button to send the request. And now we can see that it has been successfully created and the ID is no longer auto-generated by OpenSearch, but is the unique ID I specified in the put request. Now, what's different about using the put command here is if I run this now again, as you can see here, the result is created. But if I run it for a second time, you now see that we no longer created it. It now did an update. So with the post command, we're doing a strictly insert. And now when we do a put command, it's allowing us to do an insert and update while we are controlling the ID. Now, let's say we did not include the ID and we try to run it. We're going to get an error here that we're missing the ID that we're supposed to pass in for this command to work. Great, so we covered two ways of inserting a single record. Now, another thing we can do in the console is do multiple post commands at once. So now I'm going to insert 2 new records and we can do 2 post commands. And if we hover over it, we can see we have 2 different requests. So if we want to run them all together in the console, we can highlight it and we can hit this, or we can run them individually. So for the sake, let's just run it together. And now we're going to get 2 responses coming back. Remember, so we ran 1 post for the first message and a post for the second message. And you can see here that we got 2 different IDs for each entry. Now, if you're inserting a lot of data, this isn't ideal because you're going to be hitting the database with multiple post requests, and there's a more efficient way to do this. So in order to be more efficient, we can use the post_bulk parameter to do this. So what this allows us to do is insert multiple records in 1 post command. Now the JSON is slightly different in order to insert it. You're going to see here that there's now going to be a first record, and it has a custom parameter that we can pass, which is passing the custom ID if we would like to do this. So what this command is going to do is here we're going to be using create. So similar to we saw with our last message where the result is going to be create. And we're passing now the unique identification of this document and then our JSON payload followed by that. So as you can see here, now if we give this a run, we now see we've successfully created 2 new documents in our index. Great. So I showed you how to pass in a custom ID, but we can also pass it with no parameter being passed, and this is going to work as well. So now what we're doing is we're going to let Elasticsearch generate our own ID for us, and I'm just going to give that a run. And I just made a slight error here. I left a space on my line 2. So we're just going to remove that space and give it a run. And now it's successful. So as you can see here, we now have the unique ID being generated for each record that we've inserted. All right, there we go. So we've successfully inserted multiple records into our Elasticsearch index using both the put and post method. Now to see all the records at once, we can go to the query workbench and we can simply do a SQL query. So select all from our cars index, and we're going to give that a run. Now you can see we have 8 cars that have been returned from our car index, where you can see the car make, the car year, and the car model. Great, so I hope you found this video helpful. Thanks so much for watching, and you now know how to insert records using the console in OpenSearch. If you found this video helpful, please hit that like button, and if you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing for more videos on working with data on AWS. See you next time.